Hi, I'm Super Sue Finneron, and this is Get Your Shit Together. Of course, SHIT is an acronym for success, health, inspiration, and transformation. If you're new to this channel and haven't seen it before and love to hear stories of inspiration, please subscribe and don't forget to click the bell. It really helps me out. Sitting beside me today is the fabulous Dawn Elgin. And Dawn and I today are going to talk about meditation. Yeah.
Yes.
So for me, I have a really hard time with meditation. And I'm like, what the hell? I could be doing so many other things instead of meditating. And so I recently saw Dawn at the Voice of Choice, and I was like, I got to get Dawn in because I need to understand more about why I should meditate. And I've always found the best way is to ask questions. So, Dawn.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to meditation. What drew you to it?
Well, my doctor had suggested for years to meditate just because I had a high stress job. But really what happened was 2 years ago in October, I was in 2 car accidents back to back, 6 days apart, and suffered a concurrent concussion. So what happened really is that my doctors could give me nothing to do other than to meditate. So meditate as often as you can, for as long as you can. And so I would ask questions. When am I supposed to be meditating? What type, and they're like any kind, as long as you can, as often as you can. And so for me, that just didn't really work. So I started to, I know.
I hear ya.
I needed to know.
There's people out there that do too.
I did. I needed to know the science. I wasn't interested in what a lot of my clients now call the woo-woo. And so at the time, I really wanted to figure out neurologically, how was I going to rebuild my brain? And I was honestly incredibly terrified. My brain was shutting down and it was damaged, and there's nothing they can do. And so you starting to look into this mind-body practice and why is it that it works? And so that's really how I started getting into it. And then as I learned and I realized how incredible the science was, then I wanted to be able to guide people in meditation, because there was nowhere really around to do meditation that wasn't in a Buddhist center or wasn't, based out of like yoga, where people that maybe that's not their cultural belief or their religious belief, their spiritual belief. I really wanted a neutral setting that could hold space for everybody.
I think sometimes, I'll say it, business people or more A-type people have a problem with that.
Yes.
We talked about it earlier, we kind of talked. And no offense to anybody out there, I take my hat off to you if you live your life like that, but kind of hippy-dippy. Okay, yeah. I said it. I'm sorry if I offended. It's the truth.
Oh yeah, we did talk about this. Prior to my accident, my motto was time is money. Yeah. And so how do you suddenly find it okay to sit in stillness and find the value in that? And that became quite a fascinating journey for me.
So where did you go to learn?
So I started to Google stuff and try to research it. I found a few different schools, and then I found one called the Mindfulness Center, which was a nonprofit organization that is based just outside of Washington, D.C. by a neural researcher, Dr. Deborah Norris. And so she had all the accreditations that I required to get me to listen to her, honestly. And I was fascinated because she was really heavily involved in meditation in hospitals with children for increasing recovery. Meditation, bringing mindfulness into, the vets in the United States, and really, really fighting for their rights to show why it works so that they could be supported with it with PTSD. And so when I started really seeing all this science and where it was working with even addiction and depression, anxiety, I really started to realize that this was a powerful, powerful tool that we needed to start talking about it practically, as opposed to spiritually, which is actually how over a couple of beers my husband and I came up with the name Practical Spiritualism, was because it was through practicality that I actually started to find my own spirituality.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like it. And by the way, Dawn has a business in town called Practical Spiritualism.
Yeah.
And I'll link all of the information for that at the end of the video. So, okay, so what exactly is meditation? What's your definition?
It's funny, I'm always on the hunt for great definitions. A lot of people say, well, I pray, is praying the same as meditating, that sort of thing. Meditation is really coming into a place of stillness so that you can really get to know who you are. We think that we are our thoughts, and we're not. We are the one that experiences the thoughts. We're not our emotions. That's why we can say, I am happy, not me happy, we're not our emotions. It's an energy that's bubbling up from your heart that you experience. So who is the experiencer of this life? The experiencer of the outside world that our senses bring into our interior world. And so in that stillness, we get to figure out, who am I? And then we also get to start hearing our intuition. We get to develop our interior sight. And so that's when we really start getting into the understanding of us in such a broader sense, that interconnectedness, that feeling like when you think of a friend and a second later they call you. And what is that connection? Yeah, so your intuition. I really want a bowl of
chocolate ice cream, and Dave gets off the couch and goes and gets it for me.
Which is beautiful. There's a level of flow there. It's small miracles, people. That is such a big deal. And we really poo-poo it, and we lose that. I have a lot of people that come to me now and say, okay, how do I hone my intuition? Because my goal all day, every day is to be in flow. And so I'm on a whole trajectory of spiritual path, just wanting to create a beautiful relationship with universe, divine, of your own understanding, and be one-on-one in that relationship. So how do we do that? We increase our self-esteem, actually. The greater our self-esteem is, the greater our intuition is. And what it is really is the greater that we hear it. And so we really want to build our self-esteem, and our self-esteem does not come from the exterior world. It comes from the interior world. So the only way that we can strengthen our self-esteem is to actually go in, not go out, which is really what we beg for every day. Do you like me? Do you like me? Am I worth listening to? All that stuff, that's all outer world. And really the question is am I worth listening to?
Heck yes.
Right? So, yeah. Well, and that's really what meditation is.
It's that simple, isn't it?
Yes. Not easy, but simple. Yes. Absolutely.
So, are there different types of meditation?
Yes. Yeah, there's lots of different kinds of meditation. Meditation can be anywhere from, one of my favorites is actually meditating on sound. I love binaural beats. Now you're really getting sciencey on it, but it's the one beat coming through one ear and a different one you do it with headphones, and it's the midpoint, them reverbing off of each other, that actually increases neuroplasticity.
And I know there's lots of those on YouTube. I've seen them.
Yes. Yeah, and headphones.
And I'll link a couple in the bottom if you're looking for a reference point.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some great stuff out there. So I love binaural beats. It's probably one of my favorites. And then just finding a focal point. So I generally will either focal, the place between my eyebrows. I'm a very intellectual person. There's a beautiful quote by Michael Singer, and he says, "The mind is the place the soul goes to hide from the heart." And so from my upbringing, I spent a lot of time hiding in my head. So I really have spent this last year as being, how do I go into my heart and keep it open? So I went from, being raised in a world of victimhood, and not liking it, so I really became a survivor, which is really a fighting victim. And so that's not unusual. The yin always moves to the yang. And so really when I realized that and didn't want that life anymore, it was, how do I live wholeheartedly, as Brene Brown would put it? And that became my ultimate goal and value in life. And so to live wholeheartedly means you have to keep your heart open at all times. And all species, all mammals, we have the ability to close our heart field and open our heart field. And our electromagnetic field around our heart, all of our organs have one, but our hearts is the largest. And when our heart is open, when we are in joy and love, our heart actually expands out of us 10 to 15 feet. And that's why when you walk into a room and you see something, you're like, oh, I like their vibe. You're feeling their heart. And that is really cool. Or you're like, oh, they're closed off. What does that mean? It means their heart's closed. And so how do you live in a way that you're always have your heart open? And that means that you're completely vulnerable all the time to be hurt. And then you realize, I can survive that. That's just pain. That's an experience. And then you become thankful for the experience of even pain because you loved enough to hurt. And so you start looking at things a little bit more in this moment as opposed to what could be or what's happened before. For myself, a lot of the times I like binaural beats because I can focus on just holding my heart open or running energy up and down my body. But there's so many guided meditations, yoga nidra, which is actually yogic sleep. So you actually meditate in a way of lying down to bring you into a theta state, that place right before bedtime, so that you can actually reprogram your brain. Really great for PTSD, really great for people recovering from brain injuries, because PTSD is actually a side effect from brain injuries. So that's another one. There's stress reduction. There's so many different kinds. There's Buddhist types. That really is fascinating how many kinds of meditation there is.
How long did it take you to get comfortable with it?
I'd probably say, I started small. I was grateful that people had said just 5 minutes. So breathing and just focusing on breathing and the experience of breathing back and forth, I could hold that for 5 minutes. Or I could listen to sounds with my eyes closed and breathing for 5 minutes, just to experience sound. So, guided meditations, 5 minutes. It probably took me about 6 months to get to the point where I could sit on my cushion for an hour.
Holy.
And that's daily. That was a daily practice. Obviously I guide, and I meditate while I guide. So I close my eyes and open, so I never know what's going to come out of my mouth when I begin a meditation. I might think it's one thing and something totally different comes out depending on what somebody in the room needs.
I was going to say, because the energy in the room.
Totally. Yeah. And get rid of the ego. So it doesn't matter what I think you need.
Behind cheeks clenched.
There's a lot of tears. A lot of tears can happen in group meditation. And that became really fascinating, was that group meditation is actually more powerful than independent meditation, because when we come together, if you have somebody that is got kind of a higher energy and a better space and someone's low, they'll actually lift somebody up. And what will happen is within 10 breaths being synced, everybody's waves will start to move together. And they've seen that in science, that the heart rhythms start moving, people start breathing in rhythm with each other. Their minds become into the same rhythm. It's fascinating.
Obviously, people can practice meditation anywhere.
Yeah. One of the greatest places is literally where you are. So if you're finding you're stressed out at work, one of the best ways is to get up and even just walk around and pay attention to the feeling of the soles of your feet, a walking meditation. You can do that in a forest is easy. Bringing it into real life, that's actually where it counts. Mm-hmm. Sitting in your car and getting angry, starting to focus on your breath. Don't close your eyes. Focus on your breath. Right?
Some people do Kegels in the car, other people focus on their breath.
Yeah, and just that belly breathing. When we're stressed, we don't even realize it causes, we breathe up here. Mm-hmm. And so we actually bring a lot of tension into our neck. And you see it a lot in meditation or yoga, and you're breathing and people go, and now you're like, okay, leave your shoulders down and breathe into, and we women don't want to stick our bellies out. So you're like holding it in as much as you can. You're like, soften. Everybody's eyes are closed. You're fine. Stick out your belly, breathe into the belly. And there's some real calming effects that start happening. 10 breaths, you're into parasympathetic, rest and digest.
That quick.
Yeah.
See, I can't even get to 10 breaths, honestly.
I feel like you're not trying hard enough.
I tried. I tried because Dawn led a wonderful meditation at the Voice of Choice. And yes, and that was where I was sitting there going, okay, I'm having a really hard time doing this. This is why I need to talk to Dawn, because I know this is good for me. Need to find out more. So here you are. I'm so glad you came.
And you're not alone. What's fascinating is there are days that is me. I literally.
I'm so glad.
I could be 5 minutes into my meditation. I kid you not. And next thing I know, I'm at the kitchen sink doing dishes. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be meditating. I don't even remember getting up and moving. But obviously my mind was having none of it. And so it's like back to the mat.
Once you realize you
back to the mat. Sit. Pema Chodron, I loved when she said, learning how to meditate is like training a dog. you're training your mind to sit.
Yeah.
And so you can either beat it and have a neurotic dog. In other words, oh, you're so dumb. I can't believe you're thinking again. I can't believe you got off your mat. No, that does not help us, or be kind. Stay. And if we can just calmly, oh, there's my mind again. That's okay. Bring it back. That is actually probably one of the greatest gifts that I was given, was when Pema Chodron had taught that, because I was like, oh, I don't have to beat myself up. It does not help me. It does not help this world. What I really need to do is have some self-love and compassion here.
And just say,
yeah,
okay, that you're
42 years it's been neurotic. I am a squirrel. And all of a sudden I think in 3 days I'm going to be all like Zen master. I don't think so.
You know what? And that's an excellent point. Like, it does. It takes it's a skill, isn't it?
It's a practice.
Yeah.
It is a practice, not a perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every day's different.
That's true.
Yes.
Some days are easier than
absolutely.
others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and one of the things I will say, which was a big one that my teacher taught me, is if you're interested in getting into meditation in your home, pick one spot. Mm-hmm. Meditate in it all the time. Have like a blanket, light a candle, have some little ritual. The ritual doesn't help you, but what happens is within 3 times, our brains are actually quite lazy or efficient. So within 3 times, it'll go, oh, okay, we're meditating now. So you put the blanket down, now it knows. You light the candle, now it knows. Oh, next thing is going to happen, we're going to settle, okay, let's get calm, because it knows what's coming.
Right.
And so if you can, same spot, if you can do the same time frame every day, great benefits first thing in the morning and at nighttime before you go to bed. Those are your highest benefits. But if you can do it in the middle of the day and that's where you can do it, then that's where you do it. Better do it in the middle of the day than not at all. So, and it doesn't need to be for an hour. Like I said, Michael Singer, 50 years doing this, the man says 15 minutes in the morning, purpose of my day is to let go of my shit. And the 15 minutes at bed is the purpose of this day was to let go of my stuff. It's nothing else. That's the purpose. Yeah.
Wow.
Be kind.
Be kind. I like it. Excellent. You actually do guided meditations.
I do.
People can come to your home or studio.
Studio, yeah.
And I'll post a picture of what is available, because you have all sorts of different yoga classes and workshops, and you also do coaching as well.
I do, yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So if you like what you heard today and you want to find out more, please feel free to contact Dawn. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We'll see you again on Get Your Shit Together. Have a great day.